Okay, part 2 of the Spyderco Atlantic Salt video. I am really surprised how much I like this blade. Even though I got it for a great deal, I honestly thought it's not going to be something I really carry at all or use very much, but it was a great price, so I didn't want to pass it up. So far, I am liking this knife a lot more than I thought I actually would. And I think it's because it's so similar to the Endura. With the exception of this being a fully serrated blade in H1 steel, which you can get an Endura in H1 steel, but this being a fully serrated blade, with the exception of that, it's a lot like the Endura. Size-wise, dimension, weight, they are very close. Very close. And I'm going to briefly go over some of the specs. And actually, you can see that shows decently well. The Spyderco Atlantic Salt is even thinner than the Endura 4. And the Endura 4, this is a thin blade. I mean, this is a really slim pocket knife. This thing is even more so. And I think that's a big part of the reason why I like it so much. All right, so my impressions as well as some specs. I'm going to go over specs real quick. This is all stuff you can find for yourselves online, but just real quick. Overall length of the blade open is 8.3 inches. Closed, that's 4.6. It has a blade length of 3.7 inches, and of course that's in H1 steel with the hollow grind. It is a backlock, traditional FRN handles. They're not G10, but hey, that's all right with me. I like the FRN. 2.7 ounces, and I'm going to come back to that, okay? Ambidextrous carry. All right, you can switch which side, that's hard to say, which side you have the clip on, but either way, it's going to be tip up. You do not have a tip down capability on the Spyderco Atlantic Salt, okay? Seki City, Japan, just like the majority of, well, I wouldn't say the majority, but like a lot of Spyderco knives, you know, you're going to be just as impressed with this knife as you would with an Endura or a Delica, Dragonfly, any of those. This feels like it's just part of that same family. Not in the same family as like the paramilitary series, okay? It's not that kind of a feeling knife, primarily because we don't have G10 on this. This is still FRN, all right? But this feels like a brother to the Endura or a Delica. So if you're into that like I am, you're going to be super happy with this blade. Let's talk about the weight. All right, 2.7 ounces. That's really light, especially for a blade this big. Okay, this is a full-size blade, 2.7 ounces. Just for reference, on the Endura 4, we're looking at 3.4. So that's 3.4 on your Endura, 2.7 on the Atlantic Salt. So it's lighter, it's more thin, it's got H1 steel, so you're not having to worry about rust or corrosion. I mean, honestly, guys, if you do not mind a fully serrated blade with a blunted tip, okay, and that's the big one, at least for me, that's the bigger deal. But if you don't mind a fully serrated blade, you need to check this out for yourselves and see what you think. Like I said in part 1, I just happened upon this because I got it for a really great price, but I've had it for a very short time now, but in the short time I've had it, I've used it a lot. Open packages, I've used it as a food prep knife, and used it for a couple of light outdoor cutting uses, cutting some rope and things like that outside here at the house. So what I've used it for thus far has been very mild, okay? It hasn't been anything like extreme. I haven't gone camping with this thing or anything yet, but what I've used it for thus far, it has impressed me. And I don't really have any reason to believe that that's going to change, okay? The blunted tip, okay, that's obviously that's by design. This is made to be a kind of a water knife, okay? So if you're, I know there's a video on YouTube of a guy using one of these who's like a river, whitewater like guides person, he takes groups of people down and does whitewater rafting. And so he really likes this blade because obviously it's H1 steel and it's got the blunted tips, so there's no risk of puncturing some kind of watercraft, okay, putting a hole in something, as well as if you have to use this in an emergency roll, say you have to, if someone's caught up or tangled in some kind of rope or anything like that, you don't have the worry of puncturing somebody, cutting somebody open, trying to get them free. And that is a very real concern with a blade like this, where you have an extremely sharp pointed tip. Great for piercing, okay, that's what it's made to do. But this blade, okay, has a whole different role. Okay, it's totally different from anything like that's a leaf-shaped blade. This is what's referred to as the sheep's foot. Okay, so you don't have the worry of puncturing or hurting yourself or someone else with a sharp tip. Okay, so that's it. Okay, that's my impression so far. That's all I'm going to say about it. Like I mentioned earlier, check one of these out if you get the opportunity, and let me know what you think. Hope you enjoyed it, guys. See you next time.